클럽이라고 조금 alternative art fair를 만든 거예요. 이 작가들 여기 좀 하고 싶어서.
Strange, it would be nice.
네.
영어로 하시면 됩니다.
예. 인트로덕션도 영어로 해도 돼요?
네, 인troduction도 영어로 하십시오.
아, 예.
예, 다시.
그러면은 이렇게 하이 이렇게 해요? 아니면 이렇게 해요?
약간 그 검은 머리 외국인 느낌으로.
예?
검은 머리 외국인 느낌으로.
하이.
어때요?
네.
자, 그럼 영어로 합시다.
오케이.
영어 필요하시니까.
I can do it in English.
네, Just introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Christine and I'm an artist and also an interpreter and translator. And I also like to organize different art-related events and programs. So this spring I went to Art Basel in Hong Kong for the first time. And it's actually the second major art fair I've been to since I moved to Asia. Last year was the first one in Seoul. You know, we have Free Seoul now. And I had an opportunity to work with a gallery there. And they're called Gray Gallery. And they work directly with big artists. They have a lot of international artists like Alex Katz or David Hockney, who are older and more established, and they also represent smaller, not smaller, but not as big, African American artists, and help situate their works in more context art, and try to find the value in their work and their practices. Yeah, so it was my first time going to Art Basel in Hong Kong, and I guess I didn't know what to expect because I heard a lot about China taking over Hong Kong and how that's going to be affecting the market. One problem that I had with the gallery last year at Frieze is that we really experienced the art market sort of going through a slump because a lot of the regular buyers that they have were more reluctant to make a purchase. But actually, the art fair in Hong Kong this year was pretty big. It was significant. There were 20 more galleries than before. And even though there were less visitors, I think they had around 70,000 instead of 80,000. They actually, towards the end of the fair, made a lot more deals, so they were able to sell more works. I think for me, the most impressive thing about Art Basel was that, first is the scale, of course. Having that many galleries and seeing galleries represented from even the Middle East or Africa is quite impressive, but also seeing just how Korean galleries or galleries that are represented in Korea are center stage. So, of course, there are just Korean galleries like Kukje that are in the main floor in the middle. Yeah, Kukje Gallery. But there are other galleries that, most of the major galleries there, whether it's 기억이 안 나요. Whether it's most of the major galleries there, actually, you can see in their names, it's London, New York, and Seoul, not Hong Kong or, Beijing. So I saw a lot of familiar artworks from exhibitions that recently happened in Seoul. And so that was really encouraging because we're getting some of the best works here in Korea and we get to look at it firsthand. And another thing that I loved is I got to learn a lot more about Korean artists because the market there is much bigger because, even in Free Seoul, yes, there are Korean artists, but a lot of the Korean artists are in Kiev, right? And then the big, well-selling artworks come to Free Seoul. But in Art Basel, we saw a variety of different artists. Yeah. And there was a big installation by Yang Hae-gyu. She had a interesting installation. They had 8 different installations throughout the space from different artists, and she was one of them. And so I got to see more of a big installation by her. There was also a lot of interest in the artist Kim Yoon-sin, and she's really gaining more global interest these days because of her preparations for the Venice Biennale, and also because I think just like in general her works are selling more. So an art fair is a good indicator of art market, right? So you can see what type of artists the world is interested in, who is the world looking at. And so it was really exciting to see Korean artists there.
You come true. Dreams come true.
Yeah. Personally, for me as an artist, I was drawn to some artworks that I thought were newer or that I haven't seen before. And so I did some research on them, and I saw a lot of them are my age, they're younger in their 30s. And I have a little bit of a list. So the painter Inez Longchivielle, I think she's a French painter. And there's Dominique Knowles, who's an American painter. I liked his work. He had a separate booth. And he's very young. I think he was born in 1997. And he had a whole booth to himself. There's Rose Solane, who is a conceptual artist. She had quite a bit of different works in different galleries. And I also saw Willa Wasserman. I think she's another painter that I thought was interesting. And another thing that was very exciting about Art Basel is, Hong Kong has a lot of galleries and there were many concurrent events. And of course, Art Central is the main one. It's similar to Seoul's Kiev, and so you see a lot of Hong Kong artists. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to see all of Art Central, but I did get to visit some smaller art fairs, and one of them was this art fair that they showed at Christie's. So Christie's actually just opened last year in Hong Kong, and they had an art fair about African artists who are, it's from people who are like the fodder of modernism in African art to African diaspora artists and also very young artists. So, and you could see it, in Christie's in a really great environment, a lovely place. And I like that, they're moving around, they're trying to represent African artists more and make sure that the world has a, interest in the market, because I think we are more familiar with European artists or American artists, but not as much with the African continent. So Ibrahim El Salahi, he's like the father of modernism. He's still alive, but very old.
You explain this book?
Yeah. Yeah.
그럼 카메라 앞에.
Oh.
차.
I just.
두 가지만요.
오. 잠시만요.
네.
됐어요. 보여줄 수 있어요?
보여요? 이렇게 해야 되나? 어떻게 해야 되지?
그렇게 하면 될 것 같아. 내가 잘 보인다.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the book from the art fair. It's called 154. And they've been traveling around Europe and New York, and now Hong Kong was the first time that they were in Asia. And so I think it's a big task. Africa is so big, and there is such diverse culture, so they're not only working with current African artists, but artists who were from Africa, who have moved to other countries. And so they have everyone from the African father of modernism. We have Ibrahim el-Salahi, and some of his sketches here that they were showing. And also they had some younger artists. One of them I wanted to show you.
예쁘다.
It's this one. His name is Ibrahim Mahama, and he makes these textile works. He puts together old workers' clothes, and I think you see a lot of textile in African contemporary artists, and they have very clever ways of using it and telling their stories with it. But he in particular, he likes to make massive installations. So he's actually, this month, he's doing a huge installation in London. He's covering the Barbican, which is this big performing arts center. And he's going to make the whole thing purple, bright African purple. Yeah, so he's another great artist to look out for. And he's from Ghana. We also had Pearl Lamb, which is a Hong Kong. 이거 바꿀까요? 어떻게 할까요?
다 됐나? 이거는?
이거. Oh yeah. Okay. And I also wanted to show you the Supper Club. This was an alternative art fair made by young gallery curators and owners in Hong Kong. And it was inspired by similar events in Basel and also Seoul during their art fairs. So they used a historical space to showcase artworks in a more comfortable way, so not outside of the white cube. And it reminded me a lot of Aitere and the work that you're doing, because in particular, they're working with an architecture group, and what they want to do is use these types of historical spaces using non-extractive architecture. So they want to design the space without using up all the resources to preserve what they have. And they did a great job of using this old theater to show works, within the theater using materials they already have. And so I think this is a type of trend that we're seeing a lot, especially in Basel. They had a huge anti-art fair, so to speak, and it was at the mayonnaise factory. And they had 90 different young galleries coming in and taking over the factory. And I think these types of fairs I think some people are more hesitant because they're worried that maybe it takes away from the viewing experience. But for me, what I enjoyed about Supper Club is that they were able to create a very open and social environment. It was natural for people to look at the art and to socialize with one another. And it actually made it more pleasant for me to see the artworks. And I think we're going to be seeing more trends like that in the future. And it's also, I think it's interesting for us to think about. 낮은가요? 어떻게 올릴까요?
돌아가라.
Go back.
Good. Good.
Christine.
Yes.
Good. Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a documentary.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Oh, really? I think it's interesting to see these types of alternative art fairs and spaces being used, and people questioning how we show artwork and how we're buying artwork, but also thinking about this type of fair and maybe where, you know, your gallery, where it could stand to, you know, show how art can be more approachable. Yeah.
Do you explain this?
Oh yeah, they had several events. So, you know, they collaborated with different artists, different curators, and they had a DJ. It was, I think, I like that it was both social and also art-based. These were the different galleries that participated. There was one gallery from Seoul, P21. They had a similar event during Freeze last year. And yeah, and the map of the space. I think they did an excellent job curating the space. So each space had actually like a scent, and you can smell the room, and it was clear like the way that you have to move around the space, and you actually kind of come outside and up the stairs at one point. But they did a good job of finding the right works for the right space. And it was interesting also because they didn't use cubicles, like they didn't have walls. They had each gallery, I mean all the galleries come together